We're here, I'm not here, we are here to try to help you through your first busy season and provide something meaningful through your first busy season. And that meaningful, I think, is going to reduce your stress level as you go through the next busy season. So I've tried to gear this towards tools that you're going to learn. So let's see. There's a guy downstairs, Zach Caster, and I asked him to do a little drawing. What is my suspicion about how new staff feel about this opportunity? And this is Zach's representation of whack-a-mole and lens training. Because what happens and what will happen is, despite what your desire is, this is going to be interactive, okay? And as we go through this, I'm going to call an initial person. We're going to go over a concept. We're going to banter about whatever this concept is. We're going to talk about whatever this concept is. And then we're going to probably revisit it 30 times throughout training. Repetition is part of the key to help understand a concept and drive a concept home. So this is going to be very, very interactive. And for people that think that interactive is uncomfortable and it's stressful, it is. And that's okay, because the more stress and pain I put you through this process, and I'm saying this lightly, I'm not really going to put you through stress and pain. I promise this is not going to be bad. The more we do that, the more retention that you have. And once you get into busy season, especially with Binder 2, which seems to be a favorite, you're going to refer back to these materials and you're going to remember what we did, and it's going to reduce stress, it's going to reduce learning curve during busy season, which makes busy season better. So the more we interact, the more stress we put each other through, the more we banter, the more we cause a good interaction, the better busy season is going to be for everybody. So this is not what this is intended to do, and this is not intended to make anybody feel stupid at all, because there are going to be moments, my favorite, and I don't know who it's going to happen to in this room, but it's going to happen to somebody. Somebody's just going to start speaking words, and those words are going to be incoherent. It's word salad, just because they can't stop themselves, and it cracks me up every time. And it's okay. And this is truly okay. This is not meant to be anything bad. So how's training going to unfold? Max, can you read the first item that we have here, please?
Did you know that there are only two appropriate answers? A, the correct answer, and B, I don't know.
Austin, do I live by that?
Yeah, and I would add depends.
Yeah, it depends. You're going to hear depends a lot. Austin's right. Depends is also a different answer. But depends is an algorithmic diagnosis.
Depends on the question, but yes.
Okay, so, and I'm going to pick people as we go, because I'm going to point at you and you're going to parrot back exactly what I intend. And Sam, are we doctors?
No.
No, but we have to diagnose. We share a common trait with doctors, and this goes back to Austin's comment of there's the correct answer, I don't know, and depends. And what we do is we harvest information, or we collect information. And as we collect this information, as we grow through our career, we take that information and we just put it into a database in our head, and then we take and listen to a client fact pattern. And what do, Sam? We diagnose. So insofar as we listen to clients and what their problem is and how what they're trying to accomplish, we do what, Sam? Diagnose. Okay, so part of what we do is we pick these concepts up, we use them as tools, and we diagnose what a client's problem is or is not. And we guide them to whatever the right answer is. Now, what's funny is if I asked everybody in the room, and I'm not going to ask, I suspect, who wants to be a consultant? There's going to be more than one hand that goes up in this room, maybe. And if that's the case, in order to be a consultant, you have to know something. You can't just consult when you don't know anything. So this is part of, we're going to try to lay a foundation and a baseline of stuff that you might need to know in order to consult. How many answers are there, Max?
It depends. 2 or 3.
Yep. No, 100%. That's 100% right, though, Austin. That's 100% right. How often do partners and managers say, I don't know? Max, who do you want to call in?
Jackson.
Okay, thank you. Jackson, how often do partners and managers say, I don't know?
All the time.
All the time. I mean, I'm on calls all the time, and I say, I don't know. I was on a call within the past week, and as I'm listening to the call unfold, I finally say, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I don't know what's going on here. I don't, my compass is broken. I've been asked questions in a vacuum. I don't have the big picture. I don't know what's going on here. And if you people on this call, and I swear to God I said this, if everybody on this call thinks I know what's going on, you're wrong. And if you think I'm able to give you proper feedback based on what you think I may or may not know, I'm not. So you need to help me. If you think I'm going to provide you good guidance, you need to help me get grounded in what this conversation is, ground me in what your goal is, and then we can go from there. Because I can't tell who on this call is quarterbacking this project. I can't tell. And there was another accountant representing somebody else. As I'm giving this dissertation, I can see him on the Zoom actually laughing out loud. But there's a lot of, well, Jackson, who do you want to call in?
We'll do Carter.
Carter. Where's Carter? Carter's in the corner. And again, I'm terrible at this. So don't be offended when I don't know where you're at and I don't remember your name. Especially if we're going down the hall and you say hi, and I'm like, hi? Carter? No, I forgot what I was going to say. How do you feel down deep inside if you say, I don't know?
Yes, a little bad. I don't know the answer, but
As a new person, I think there's a desire to the level sometimes it's inappropriate not to want to show weakness and to say, I don't know. Because I got 4 years of education, good education. I should know the answer. So in the pursuit of not wanting to feel that weakness or that whatever word we want to assign to it, we just say something instead. And I don't know is the right answer. Carter, who you want to call in?
Chris.
Chris, where's Chris? Chris, what's this next one say?
Number 3 is I don't know a weakness. Absolutely not. On the contrary, it is intellectually honest and a sign of strength.
Okay, what's the next one say?
Or what happens in Let's Learn Some Tax if I say I don't know, nothing, this is practice for future times, when you in fact do not know and you are honest with yourself and with the person you are dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, if you say to somebody, if somebody asks you a question and you try to bullshit your way through it, you think they sense that you're bullshitting your way through it? Probably. And I think depending on the level of BS is going to correlate to your loss of credibility. So I don't know with sincerity, like from the soul of your being, I don't know, builds credibility. It's intellectually honest. So when we're going through this, there's 2 answers, and what are they, Max? There's only 2. Don't worry about depends. That'll come later, because that is one of my favorite answers.
The correct answer, and I don't know.
The correct answer, and I don't know. So as we're going through this, and you don't know, what should you say, Max?
I don't know.
And you should say to Jackson, can you help me out? Do you know? Because the other thing that we are is we're a team. What's funny is I watch all you people, believe it or not, I do pay attention. And you guys scramble around and you ask each other questions. So you help each other out. And that's exactly what should happen. So the right answer is I don't know, and Jackson, do you? And you help each other out. Jackson, what's this say?
What are potential outcomes if I don't know something, but try to make something up to avoid a catastrophe of saying, I don't know? A, reputational risk. B, disservice to yourself. C, disservice to the client.
100%, especially the disservice to the client, because we are trusted advisors, and if we're a trusted advisor and we are not honest enough to say, I don't know, and we just make something up, we're not doctors, right? Nobody's going to die. So let's get that straight. Nobody's going to die. We aren't doctors from that perspective. But we could cause harm by being intellectually dishonest. Jackson, who you want to call?
Matt.
Okay. What should I do in Let's Learn Some Tax 1 if I don't know what is going on? I've gotten lost because I was diligently focusing on a topic and somehow did not move on with the class, get asked a question and feel anxiety and get frustrated. Answers. If I don't know what is going on, I should ask for a clarification on the topic. If you don't know, maybe another staff doesn't. If I have gotten lost because I was diligently focusing on a topic, same as A, the more we go over a topic, the more knowledge potential transfers. And if I get asked a question and feel anxiety and get flustered, say I don't know with pride and ask to phone a
100%.
friend, which means
Because what
calling someone
happens
else.
is we'll be going over a topic or a subject matter, and Matt, you'll be locked in. You'll be locked in on whatever that is, and you're going to be writing a note and thinking about whatever that is. And all of a sudden, you go, oh no, they're somewhere else now. Because I was so locked in on whatever that was I was focusing on that now I'm not cut up. So having the intellectual honesty and curiosity, say, whoa, 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 I'm now lost. Where are you guys at? That is exactly what this is intended to do. Don't be shy about doing that. That's what we should do. We're not here to be lost. We're here to learn something. Matt, who you want to call in?
Let's call an Allie.
What are my goals for Let's Learn Some Tax 1 staff? A, knowledge transfer. B, provide knowledge that increases competence and confidence during busy season. And C, provide knowledge to reduce busy season anxiety because you are more capable.
And that is what this is intended to do. I promise you. And there's lots of things that I can't be helpful with because, you know, you're going to have some people come in and they're going to probably pull up something on a computer. They're going to talk about depreciation. When I was your age, I knew almost absolutely everything about depreciation. I don't know why, but I did. Guess how much I know now? Not much. And it's almost a character flaw. I mean, I can't tell you what the 179 limits are. I can't tell you what bonus is or the timetable it runs out. I think it's 60% this year, 40% next year, maybe. It's shameful how little I know about it at this point. But you guys need to know a lot about it. Okay, but I don't even have the software. Do you have the software?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, he has the software. And he actually gave me a look of slight disdain that I don't have the software. So when it comes to software issues, Austin, should they come to me?
No.
Did I demonstrate that this morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right, we got that clear. Okay, Allie, who you want to call on?
Is it possible for Let's Learn Some Tax 1 at moments cause a little anxiety? It is possible. However, I think it will pay dividends with reduced busy season anxiety and reduced learning curve.
100%. Okay, 1001. What's the point of 1001? And this is one that I need to hammer into you guys with a sledgehammer. Okay? 1001 is determining the amount of recognition or gain or loss. So when I put a section up here, this is section 1001, that's an Internal Revenue Code 1001. And if some people gravitate to it, which would be me, most people don't, which is probably you. I remember things in code sections, but you probably won't. But what you do need to remember is, let me ask a question. Luke, who you want to call in?
Connor.
Connor? So let's do something very simple. If I have a piece of ground that I have tax basis of $1,000 in, and you buy it from me for $10,000, what's my gain?
9,000.
9,000, pretty simple, okay? So the 10,000 piece of that equation is proceeds. So you need to know the definition of proceeds because this is wildly important and always causes people to miss something, okay? Proceeds is broken up into three parts. One is cash, one is property, and one is debt relief. That's total proceeds. So Connor, in that example, we just used cash, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, stupid question. If I have ground that has $1,000 basis and you have an old muscle car worth $10,000, does that, and we swap it, is that proceeds?
I don't think so.
Let's talk about the definition, because this is hard. Is the land cash? No. Is land debt relief?
No.
Is it property?
Yes.
Okay. So in your case, you have a car of 10K of value, and I have land of 10K of value. Zero cash, zero debt relief. Total proceeds is 10K because we exchanged property. Okay, and there's instances where that doesn't matter. Code section 1031 like-kind exchanges, but we aren't going to be covering that. Okay? So, the definition of proceeds is very, very important as we go through. And is that important for you guys today? No. Is that going to be important to you guys during your first busy season? No. But as you get through and get more and more in your career, you bet it is. And actually, I'm going to demonstrate if we get there how this is important. And I'm going to go ahead and lay the groundwork. No, I'm not going to do that yet. Luke, remind me to lay the groundwork, okay? So, who you want to call in, Connor?
Sam.
Sam? Sam the doctor. That's what you're going to be. Okay, so I'm gonna do another one. Matt, you're going to be the next guy, okay? We're here to learn, but we're not here to be experts. So when I say we're here to learn, but we're not here to be experts, because there's no way we're going to build enough data in your head to get you to expert. But we're going to build enough data in your head to build a foundation. So we're not here to learn. We're here to learn. We're not here to be
Experts.
And we're here to
Learn.
diagnose.
Diagnose.
See? Yes.
Yeah.
This is how this is going to work.
Yeah.
And Chris, you are going to be, you're drinking from a fire hose, because there's going to be so much information. We're drinking from a fire hose here because we're going to be throwing so much at you guys and twisting and turning. We're going to be drinking from a fire hose. So we understand cash is cash, correct? We just demonstrated that the transfer of property is also a taxable event or proceeds, correct? So how's debt relief work? Chris, does that mean, if you were going to tell me what debt relief means in terms of proceeds, could you even articulate it?
Right, so if you have debt on the land you own and you're selling your land, if the person who's buying your land pays off the debt, then that's included in proceeds.
Okay, that's not a terrible answer. It's not correct, but it's not a terrible answer. Because what you just said was, I have land that has 10K of value, correct? And I have debt of, I'm going to call it 1,000.
Do they have to pay it off, or do they just have to take on the debt?
They take on the debt. That's because what your words were, and words matter, words convey the exact thing that is going on, is that, well, I got the 10,000, then I paid the bank. So the person either went and got a loan on their side, the purchasing side, and paid me, or they went to their bank account and paid me, and then I paid the bank. Well, but instead, let me ask this question. Let's stick with your first example. You have 10K of value. We have 1,000 of debt on it. Let's do no debt first. You get 10K, right? And let's say basis is $1,000, because that's what we said, right? We have 10,000 of cash, 0 property, 0 debt relief, 10K proceeds, and then basis is 1,000, right? For Connor's $9,000 of gain. So now, how much cash do you have, Chris?
10,000.
10,000, okay? Well, if we have debt of 1,000, let's make it 2,000. We've got too many. Of 2,000, and you have to pay it off. How much cash do you have left over?
I mean, you still get 10,000 in the sale,
You do, but you had to pay the bank, correct?
so 8,000.
8,000.
Yep.
You have 8,000 left over. Did that payment of the debt affect the gain loss calc? It did not. Okay? So, how's that different than 8K of cash and they assume 2 of debt? So total proceeds, it consists of 3 things: cash, property, and debt relief. Because in first scenario, Chris, you got 10,000 of cash, correct? And then you had to pay the bank. You're left with net 8, which is no different than I'll give you $8,000 and you'll assign that debt to me. You're in the same economic position. And it does not affect the gain loss calc. And what people really have, what my favorite is, people have a hard time wrapping their head around, and I'm not saying the people in this room, clients, is that, well, shit, you know what? I got 10K of debt on this. So, Chris, I'm going to give you my building, and you're going to take the debt. How much cash did I get?
0.
0. But you took the debt. I got 0 cash, right? So what do you think the client thinks their gain is when they get 0 cash?
0.
0. And it's a huge surprise. And every time it's a gasp when they say, well, wait a minute, I didn't get that cash. Well, wait a minute. Your basis in this was $1,000. So you had to refinance it. And you got $10,000 of cash out of the thing, but by virtue of refinancing it and deploying it somewhere else. You got the cash. You just didn't get it via the sale transaction. So as you go through, I think this is a monstrously important definition to keep with you, is proceeds is cash plus property plus debt relief is your gain loss. So I'm going to go back to the thing that Connor talked about, and this is going to be a little bit more, this is more advanced, and I don't mind introducing more advanced to you guys, because this comes up all the time. Is it going to come up in your world this year? Maybe. Is it going to come up frequently? No. Is it going to come up more frequently as you go through time? Yes. So the fact that we're laying this groundwork is not a terrible thing. Who did I call in last? You? Who you want to call in?
Connor.
Connor? Oh my gosh. You're CS, right? So if you get this wrong, you will be publicly shamed in the room. Okay, because you should have this one. What's the accounting equation?
Assets equal liabilities plus equity.
Assets equal liability plus equity. Correct? Okay? So this piece is also something that, this is a tool that you guys, that I use all the time. And the more consulting you do and the more sales and exchanges you do, the more this becomes pretty damn important. So, if I have a balance sheet that has AR of $10,000 and I have land of $20,000, this is tax basis, for a total of 30. For a total of 30. And I have liabilities of, I'm going to call it 40. And equity, -10, correct? Okay? So this accounting formula, plus what we just learned about proceeds, and what's my definition of proceeds, Connor?
3 parts:
And they are?
debt relief, cash, and I don't know the third off the top of my head. Property.
Property, okay? So now I'm going to overlay that same concept in this, and this comes into play for 754s, Does anybody know what a 754 is? No? We're going to cover it. Okay. Comes in play for 704C. Nobody in the room has a shot at that one.
Whoa.
Well, hold on, except Austin.
Shocked.
Do what?
Shocked.
No, you can articulate what it is though, for sure. Well, now you put yourself on the spot.
Oh yeah, I should have.
Yeah, you should let this go. Can you
I was really nice to company not saying anything.
can you articulate at all what 704 is intended to do?
Going a little outside the bounds of what we're doing here, right?
Yes, 100%, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it? I don't. That's fine. Oh, by the way, okay, there's also a competition that I forgot to tell you guys about, okay? And I have these goofy gift cards that we hand out as this progresses, okay? Is one, if I say something stupid and you guys call me on it and I agree it was stupid, you get a point, okay? If somebody can figure out the stupid thing I said, because I say stupid stuff all the time, this is a target-rich environment, you get a point. And whoever at the end of the day or whatever we're going to do, I'm going to give a gift card to whoever that is. The second thing that's an opportunity for a gift card in the middle of this is if you're really tracking what's going on and you understand what's going on, and I call it a second level sort of thinking. It's not just taking the guided tour. You ask a question that shows and demonstrates, I got it, right? I see the picture. That's a gift card, okay? And it happens all the time because people actually do pay attention and listen and track. So going back to this, I'm going to pretend for a second this is the balance sheet, okay? And the Austin wants to buy my company. And he's going to pay me, let's see. Yeah, he's going to pay me $10,000 for the company. Just overall, take the whole balance sheet. Okay? So, in proceeds, in terms of proceeds, and we're going to come back to proceeds, but I'm going to do the accounting equation first. Okay? And this is actually worth writing down because you're going to use this over and over and over, at least I hope you do. In the terms of when somebody's buying a business or a balance sheet, the place that you start is the equity section. And then we populate from the equity section to the asset side. Okay, and you're not going to use this for a while. And the reason I'm even doing this at all is because we're going to be doing this a lot at some point. And the fact that I'm, again, laying the foundation, and that's what this is laying foundation, hopefully you're going to be able to use this in the future. So if I start with the equity section, Max, what does this $10,000 tell you?
That's your proceeds.
That's your proceeds, but it's also my equity section. Okay? So if I start with my equity section, I got 10, right? So my accounting equation is what? Liabilities plus equity equal one side of the balance sheet. Okay, so now I start with equity because it's a known. I go to my second known, which is my liabilities. How much liabilities do we have?
40 grand.
40. Okay? How much did I add to?
50.
Okay? So, Max, why do you suppose I always start with the equity section? Because it's known. And I know my accounting equation says liabilities plus equity gives me one side of my balance sheet. It gives me the $50 number. So now that I have the $50 number, I can go to my asset side, and I know the asset side has to foot down to 50. So now it's a question of, well, what's what? So I'm going to give you another data point. I'm going to say land equal fair market value equals 30. Okay? And AR is equal to book balance. So I have to allocate this 50 in among the assets, and I just gave you a given. Gap for AR, so I got 10. I said land is worth 30. Does 10 plus 30 max equal 50?
No.
No, it does not. So I got now this plug figure, and it's called goodwill or intangibles, of 20, right? Or 10. Now, how does this relate back to proceeds? Because I use this, I said all the time, for 754, 704C, for sale or exchange of businesses. I use this methodology all the time. Start with the equity section, add liabilities, foot down to a number, which now tells me what my asset side should be. Then I allocate that in among the assets. So, who did I call? Max, who do you want to call it?
Matt.
Matt, what's my definition of proceeds?
It's the three things. It's either cash, property, or debt relief.
Sorry, I was making noise.
Cash, property, or debt relief.
Cash, property, and debt relief. Okay? So I'm going to do a total column here. And you said cash?
Yep.
How much cash was
10,000.
10? How much property did I receive?
0 property.
0. How much debt relief did I get?
You had 40,000 of liabilities.
Debt relief?
Yep.
Yep. So total proceeds of 50. Does that look startlingly familiar to that? So now, what we have here, though, is we have total proceeds. Okay? Well, how many assets are on Austin's balance sheet when he bought it, when the dust settles?
2. Or
2.
when he bought it.
Yep.
3.
3. What are they?
AR, land, and goodwill.
AR, land, and goodwill, correct?
Yep.
So now, on this gain, we did this total. Now the gain loss says, well, how much was the AR worth?
10.
10. So now I got to bifurcate or break this down into its individual pieces. And you're telling me that 10, well, I'm going to do it this way. Because when I do this, and I think this is a good practice, I always allocate debt proceeds to the short-term assets first. Okay? So I have 10 of debt relief, I'm going to say is with AR. And then land, I'm going to say that that's 30. And goodwill is 10. So my total proceeds is 10, 30, and 10, broken up. And it came based on my definition globally of cash of 10, property of 0, debt relief of 40. Then I break that out in and among the assets that were purchased. So now, Matt, who do you want to call it?
Let's go Sam.
Sam? No, I forgot my fucking question. There was such a delay in who we want to call him. Let's see. Oh, I remember now. When I was dealing with Connor earlier, and I said, Connor, I got a piece of ground. I sold it for 10,000. I had 1,000 of basis, and how much gain did he say?
9.
9. Okay. So at this point, in that example I had with Connor, we populated the proceeds portion of it, correct? So now, in order to calculate what the gain is, we now have to populate what the basis is, correct? So this is total proceeds. And basis is, we won't populate this yet, okay? How much basis, tax basis, did we have in the AR? And I did it right here. This is my tax basis column.
10.
10, okay? How much basis did I have in the land?
20.
20. How much basis did I have in goodwill? None. So 0, 10, and 10. I have 10 of gain associated with land, 10 associated with goodwill. Okay? So proceeds is, what's the definition of proceeds again?
Cash, property, and debt relief.
Cash, debt, and property relief. But I also dovetail that same concept all the time into this accounting equation to populate a balance sheet starting where?
Equity.
Equity. Adding
Liabilities.
to get
Assets.
total number of assets. Then I know that when I get that total, I now have to break that out in and among all the assets that were purchased. So this definition of proceeds, I hammer on all the time to the point I think that people get frustrated, but Do I care?
No.
I don't. We use this all the time in terms of what we do, okay? And this concept of assets equals liabilities and equity, this concept, you're, as you progress, this is going to be used more and more and more and more. Today, are you going to be using it? No. But it's a good thing to know. It's a good thing to know that this is going to be a bigger and bigger piece of what you do. The thing that you really should take away, because where are we drinking from?
Water hose.
Fire hose.
Fire hose.
The water hose is manageable. Fire hose. This, the definition, cash property debt relief, that's my goal, is for you guys to retain and know total proceeds is cash, property, plus debt relief. That's my goal. This, being able to use that formula and be able to expand it to, well, there's a target balance sheet that now I have to populate the equity section, add my liabilities. Then I'm able to take that and break it out into the sale of each individual piece. That is next level. That is able to execute something and maybe trending towards being able to consult. Okay, so this page is basically saying cash plus debt plus property relief. And for those that actually care, it's Treasury Regulation 1.1001-1 is where the definition really is. Okay. Installment sales. Okay. And we're actually going to be covering this. I actually wrote in a section for installment sales for this one. Who did I just pick on? Can't remember. It was you? Who do you want to call on? Sam?
Connor.
Connor?
Connor V.
Connor V? Connor V is in the back row?
Yes.
Wow. You know what? I should get a gift card just for remembering that. Do you know what an installment sale is, Connor V?
I do not.
Okay. Do you want to ask anybody in the room if they know?
Chris?
I don't know.
Anybody know? And there's only two answers. The answer, and I don't know.
Isn't it a sale that takes place over separate installments, like years, months,
Okay.
separate, not in one transaction or one?
Well, it is one
or
transaction.
Cash transaction.
Yes, it is one transaction, but the way you interact with it is,
The transfer of cash is through different installments.
yeah. So, and we are going to cover this, but I'm going to say it right now. So, Connor V, what's my definition of proceeds?
Cash, property, and debt relief.
Okay. So, I have my $10,000 piece of land with my $1,000 basis. And we enter into a transaction whereby Jackson says, you know what, I don't got the cash today, but I'm good for it. I'll pay you $10,000, $1,000 a year over the next 10 years. By virtue of a payment stream occurring over multiple years, that's an installment sale. So let's drill down onto that for just a second. Because again, I'm going to say things that are not intended for you to be useful for next busy season, but are intended to lay a groundwork of something exists, and if you hear it, you know, well, I heard that before, and now I can start putting points of reference on that thing, okay? So we're going to play a little game here with respect to installment sales just for a second, okay? And that is, let me ask a question. From Connor, who you want to call on?
Jackson.
Jackson?
Where?
Hold on, what are you? Chris. Okay, you might, I'm swear to God, it's not intentional. Okay, let me ask a question. If I gave you $10,000, do you have $10,000?
No,
You don't?
not on me. Or, oh, sorry, yes. You
Yes,
gave me
okay.
10,000.
I,
Sorry, I got too
yes, I
late.
was not, I wasn't looking for a
Follow you
loan.
now, yes,
I was not looking for a loan.
10,000.
Okay? That would be a lot of money to carry around. You have 10 grand.
Yes.
Can you go to the casino and put it on black?
Yes, I could.
Okay? So you have complete dominion and control over it.
Yes.
Okay? So if you're an employee of Lutz and they give you 10 grand, can you go put it on black? Did you have an increase to wealth
Yes, I
of
did.
$10,000? So for those playing the game, okay, and there's code section 61 that says anytime you have an increase to wealth, it's income, unless it's not. Okay? So Lutz gives you $10,000, Jackson. It's income, and you can go put it on black. What if Lutz says, I'm going to put $10,000 in your account, but you have to be here 5 years to get it?
I haven't earned it yet.
No, well,
But I
no,
have it.
You have. I mean, well, hold on. Let me restate it because the way I did that was poor. Okay, you earn $10,000. We put it into account, but you can't get it until 5 years from now. It's yours, but you get it 5 years from now because I do want to split that hair.
Okay.
When is that income to you?
When I have access to it.
When you have access to it. Okay, so if I say, well, I'm going to give you $10,000 of stock in Lutz, but you have to be here 5 years. When's that income?
When I have access to.
Okay, so there is the common theme of when I have access to it. Okay, but there is code section 83 and 83B, is there not? Okay, so this is the other thing that's interesting, at least to me. A good practitioner knows the rule. A better practitioner knows the exception to the rule. A really good practitioner knows the exception to the exception. Because 83 would be an exception. 83B would be an exception to the exception. Okay, there's all these things, and none of you, that might as well have been Farsi. He and I know what that means, but you guys don't. Okay? So the point of that little exercise or discussion was, it's not income until you have dominion and control over it. Okay? So installment sales says, okay, if you say you're going to give me a promise to pay, did you give me cash?
No.
No. Did you assume any of my debt?
No.
No. Did you give me some form of property?
No.
What's the
Yes, I gave you a promise to pay.
promise to pay? Okay. Okay, and then my basis is how much, Jackson?
10,000. Or sorry, one.
One?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's my gain?
Be 9,000.
9,000. Okay, so now there's this concept I'm going to introduce that's called realized and recognized. Realized gain, which that's what we have. He's given me a promise to pay of $10,000. There's $1,000 of basis. I have a realized gain. Recognized means when do I have to pay tax on it? So in the installment sale basically says, until I get the cash, I don't have to recognize the gain. And again, we're going to do a little bit more with that. And you will see, for those of you that are tracking and you want to write something down, this is reported on Form 6252, is it not, Austin? Okay. Jackson, who you want to call on?
Let's call on Allie.
Allie, what are my simple facts to help demonstrate Sailor Exchange?
Jim owns land that he purchased land for 60,000, which has appreciated to 100,000. Jim has a buyer for the land. Possible scenarios: number one, sell for 10 or 100,000 of cash. Number two, sell for 50,000 of cash and 50,000 of debt relief. Number three, sell for 50,000 boat and 50,000 debt relief. Number four, sell for 100,000 debt relief, and five, sell for 100,000 boat.
Okay. And the definition of proceeds is what, Allie?
Cash, property, and debt relief.
Okay. And I don't know if this is necessarily a post-it worthy page, but at least here's the definition. Okay. We talked about what does debt relief. You know what? That's the other thing that's going to happen is I talk ahead of the slides all the time. I don't do it on purpose. I just talk. So I apologize for that. So I assume based on what we've done, Ally, does this make sense to you? What we have here?
Yeah.
Can you articulate what exactly is going on?
With that example?
Do what?
With that example?
Yep.
So you have your fair market value of 100,000, but your basis in it is 60. So you're getting cash for 100,000. So then your gain would be the 40,000.
So let's for the sake of trying to drive the concept home, what are the elements of my proceeds? How much cash did I get?
Or 100,000.
How much property did I get?
100. No,
100,000?
six.
Chris, how do you feel about receiving $100,000 property in this case?
I mean, we're not in this case, but I feel great about receiving 100,000.
So how much is property in the formula? Because it's cash. How much is cash, Ally?
100,000.
How much was the property?
60.
0.
0.
And debt relief was 0.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, going back to the formula, cash, debt relief, property is the formula. Jim transferred $100,000 of cash, so now I have to populate that piece of my formula for $100,000. He didn't give me any property, and there was no debt associated with the asset transferred, so my total proceeds is $100,000. Compared to the basis that I bought it, there's a $40,000 gain. Okay, who you want to call in? Allie? Oh, you're the guy? Okay. Okay, what's the facts on this one?
You got Jim receiving cash 50,000, and then 50,000 of them, I'm assuming debt relief?
Yep.
Or that's.
Yep.
So 100,000 of proceeds, and then he's still reporting that basis of 60,000.
How do you arrive at your $100,000 proceeds, though?
I just added the 50K of cash and then the 50K of debt relief.
And how much property did you add?
0.
Why?
Um,
There's only one answer, because it didn't exist.
yeah.
It was not part of the transaction. And the repetition, because it's so easy to shortcut this, to say, well, you got 100,000, and not really, the point of this is, for me, especially when I'm doing my accounting equation, debt relief is easy to miss. How much cash did you get? Okay? What did you sell your building for? Going back to that earlier example where it was, I think it was with Jackson, it was 8,000 of debt and 2 of debt relief. Or no, who was that? Is that you?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think it's
It
me.
was you?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I know the basis is in your ground of $1,000, and I say, Chris, how much did you sell it for? And you, as the uneducated client, say, well, I got $8,000 for it. That does not give me the real picture. That's a factually correct answer. You got $8,000, so well, that's fine. You got a gain of $7,000. And then I get the paperwork, and then, well, wait a minute. You transferred to a debt with this. Yeah, and? I didn't get any cash, right? So always knowing that proceeds is cash, property, and debt relief, and making yourself retain that and go through that exercise is important, because somebody guaranteed is going to say, I got $8,000 of cash. And if you don't ask additional questions, or Sam, diagnose. And diagnosing something is the ability to ask the next additional correct question. Because if Chris told me I sold it for $8,000 and I wasn't in tune enough to say, well, did you get any property? No. Was there debt on property? Yes. Did you transfer it? Yes. Now I was able to, Sam,
Diagnose.
the proceeds were $10,000 because I know the 3 components that are in there: cash, property, and debt relief. Because it's very easy to stop it. I got $8,000 of cash. It's almost human nature to stop there. Okay. Carter, who you want to call in?
Let's go with Max.
Max, what's this say?
So Jim sold his land for 50,000 of debt relief and a $50,000 boat. The fair market value was obviously 100,000. So we have the proceeds of $50,000 of debt relief, $50,000 of receiving property in the form of a boat, and $0 cash, which is a total of $100,000 in proceeds. We then have basis of $60,000 to get us to that gain of 40.
Yep. Who you want to call him, Max?
Chris.
Chris, what's this say?
Jim sells his land for $100,000 of debt relief. Proceeds wise, we don't receive any cash for property. We only receive that debt relief. Minus our basis gives us a gain of 40,000.
Yep. Who you want to call on?
Let's go, Luke.
Luke, what's this say?
So we're getting $100,000 fair market value, and we're going to get the boat for $100,000 as well. So we have just that in property. No cash is being received, no debt received. And our original basis of the land was $60,000, so we get $40,000.
Okay. So now, the reason that, and we'll come back to this at some point, I promise, I'm going to ask somebody in the room, what's the definition of debt? I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but I can guarantee it will. So, definition of debt, it just happened. What is it, Max?
Debt relief of property.
Are you ever going to forget it? No. Yeah, you will, but it'll come back to you at some point because it's easy to forget. Because, Chris, how much you sell your ground for?
100,000.
8,000.
8,000.
And I wasn't smart enough to ask about the two because I didn't focus in on what that definition is. Because what do we do, Sam?
Diagnose.
In order to diagnose, we have to know something, right? And in order to know something, knowing something allows us to grow into be a consultant because you know something. The client's not going to show up and say, here's everything you need to know. You got to diagnose. And the only way we're going to get there is by
Drinking from a fire hose.
drinking from a fire hose.